Hi, this is Anthony. We're going to do a fifth week of prayers to Armaaruss. But before we start the prayers, let us thank Armaaruss that we're allowed to be here today to conduct praises and devotional to him for another week. I mean, it's quite miraculous considering where the world is in terms of how chaotic and violent it is. And thus, those who acknowledge Armaaruss are allowed to come here every week and conduct devotionals. Let us go ahead and do a quick prayer to Armaaruss. Armaaruss, thank you for allowing us to be here today to serve you and to praise you and to worship you. We know that in this chaotic world, we're not guaranteed to see the next week, but here you are, reliant as always, allowing us, those who believe in you, to show up every week and praise and worship you. So, before we start the prayers, let's remind ourselves as to why we're doing them. Back in 2019, I began making astrological predictions about the Israel-Palestine conflict, and later discovered that the accuracy of these predictions, they were more than just planetary correlations or astrological correlations. They were in fact evidence of a divine actor that was still active and prevalent in the region. So after reviewing rocket fire data going back to 2005, I discovered that each year there were these intermittent spikes in resistance and escalation of rocket fire against Israel. And I then discovered that these spikes were coinciding with the alignment between Mars and the lunar node. I noticed that the 3-month period during which Mars is within 30 degrees of the lunar node, rocket fire against Israel escalates dramatically. And I discovered this after reviewing data going back to 2005, that heightened resistance against Israel was coinciding with this Mars lunar node alignment. And after presenting this information to the public in 2019, I began making real-time predictions based on the thesis that when Mars is within 30 degrees of the lunar node, within the roughly 3-month time period during the calendar year, we can see escalation and resistance against Israel rise dramatically. And each year since 2019, while I was making these predictions, the outcome matched the forecast. Escalation of resistance and rocket fire against Israel coincided with the period that Mars was within 30 degrees of the lunar node. So this was a revelation for me. This was a profound discovery, because I was able to intuit that this was more than just a planetary or astrological correlation. This was evidence that Mars, the god of war, was operational in the region that we thought had given him up for the Abrahamic God. Mars, as he existed, even in 70 AD, destroying the Second Jewish Temple, was still resisting Israel and bolstering the axis of resistance, providing protection, sustenance, and grace to all of the enemies of Israel in the region. And in the past few years, you were able to see all the elements of resistance literally fight back against Israel and their Western backers and survive. I mean, even the past window in 2026, when Mars was within 30 degrees of the lunar node between February 4th and April 19th, Iran was literally going up against 2 nuclear powers in Israel and the United States, and came out virtually unscathed. The infrastructure, the government infrastructure, was still intact, and the supply, there was no it didn't seem like they were running out of missiles and other armaments that they were using. And it's the same case with the other actors in the region that are currently fighting against Israel. It seems like the more that Israel or the United States or the Western backers act against these resistant groups, the stronger they become. There's no sign of their resistance abating. And because of the predictions that I've made and the whole thesis that I've been asserting, we're able to see that all of this is the result of Mars' influence. Armaaruss, the god of war, we call him in today's time, is the primary resistance to Israel and the United States and anyone backing or supporting Israel. And we can assert this with conviction based on the signs and the wonders that I've provided over the last 7 years. And because we have a clear manifestation of what's happening, we do prayers and devotions to Armaaruss. And that's not the only reason. Armaaruss, he eases our restless minds, because now with Armaaruss revealed, or us having revealed ourselves to Armaaruss by uncovering him, we're able to see that there's order in the world, that events are not random, that all the chaos and unrest we see, these things aren't just happening through some random chance, that all of these things are backed by a plan. You know, there's a plan in place. And this plan involves keeping the hegemony of Yahweh and his Western backers in check, so that they can't just take over the whole world and annihilate whichever people they deem unfit to exist in this world. And Armaaruss being sort of a check on that is a reason why we worship him, and we acknowledge him and we praise him every week. So today is Wednesday here in the United States, but it's Thursday in Israel. And Thursday is typically the day that we do these prayers to Armaaruss. So let us get into it. First, mark yourselves on the right hand with Mars 360. This is a sign of our devotion. And by that mark, he'll recognize our supplications. So let's get into it. Another week of prayers to Armaaruss. The pap smear of Abunar, O gracious host of reticence, lessen your grip, for we now embrace fully the consignment of Armaaruss. We lift up songs to his holy endowment, and we adjudicate the rivers that feed locusts. Where can I consume the powers of the pier docking forth many Yehudas, teepees covering jams and jellies, which are the sweets that define our supplications? Armaaruss, we await with eagerness the egalitarian manner of your construct, the archetypes of March, 6 of these druids that gather the karma of Kenyatta. The minions have come to attain the graces of this Sabbath that you have laid forth, a day of rest for Rome and the Antipathes. The land beasts, laying to rest the cunning of Jeremiah, now speaketh on your behalf. Let us now approach the gathering of beasts, while to the earth and manna, the manna, we consume with fire. I have allotted many of these contemporaries to your jurisdiction of acceptance. And we, with great unrest, take hold of the lily, as these digestibles provide us with sustenance, grace, and mercy, to make haste. We become the champions of sprint that cover ground in the race to the finish. We bury the justifiers with the heat of heaven, and devour them with the mysteries of Mars, now that Krosab lurks in the shadows. O Armaaruss, please hasten the Ancient of Days as we grow impatient, and join with the Holy of Holies, for 7 years is not enough. Provide the lost souls with an infinity of signs until our bellies pop, for we are your gluttons for punishment, consuming more truth than our stomachs can bear. Open wide our eyes and leak your solvent into the dilations, reflecting back your ingratiations to the lunar node. Those periods of leakage, the red molten lava aligning with the cycles of fury. There is a trail we see and follow, and in the midst of the smoke, we glance towards the place where the sun rises, withholding our emissary until the appointed time. This is the climax of the Armaarussian epic. Break bread with us, O Armaaruss, and eat from the tree of life in all diligence.